Well, hello, hello. Look at this idiot, right? Look at this guy.
It happens.
Look at
Hi,
this idiot.
everyone. How you doing?
I'm so
Bills
proud of him.
win.
Yeah, I'm so proud of him.
What, that I could fit in my son's helmet?
This isn't that the helmet you had to wear when you were in high school?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it's the only thing that actually makes your forehead look bigger. There we go. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking.
Check. 53's the mic.
Yeah, that's it.
53's
That's
the
it.
mic.
So, welcome everybody, both Sportscaster family and YouTube family. We're here for, I can't believe I'm saying this, another Bills victory post game. Hello, hello. Ooh, damn it, Ellington, my Deadpool Bills shirt trumps your DC Superman shirt. Ah, yes. Oh,
Probably does.
585 Army, unleash the Dable! Unleash the Dable!
Okay, so since that's going to happen, that's
Yeah.
definitely going to happen tonight. I am,
Why am I taller than you right now? Are you
because I boosted your seat up because I knew you
Is
were.
it the phone book I'm sitting on? Is that what this is here
Yeah.
for?
it ain't Brian Dable's play call sheet. I know
That's
that.
a fact. That is a fact.
Yeah, I cannot wait until you just release the Kraken on Brian Dable today.
So a nail biter of a game yet again. So the Cardiac Bills pull another one out. So ultimate score 31-21. If you're on Sportscast, you can obviously see the scoreboard above our head, 21-31. So exciting game.
Very.
Very exciting game. As far as stats go, up and down. Miami drops to 0-6. The Bills drop to, not drop to. The Bills go to 5-1. Boy, that's an old habit I got to break. A couple real quick insights before we get going. A stat before the game, and this stat I thought was probably going to be pretty paramount when you start looking up and down how this game was going to roll, and it really didn't hit the way that I anticipated. So here's the deal. The Buffalo Bills have outgained their opponents by 97.4 yards per game, fifth best in the NFL. So they've been able to get, Mario, we got to hold on. Now we're good. As you type, you're shaking the camera on the tubers.
Not the
great!
tubers.
Now look at you. Look at you.
I want to get out of the way for when this Dable eruption of Volcano Paul comes in.
So anyway, let me get back to the stats. So the Bills had been outgaining opponents 97.4 yards per game in total net yards. However, the Miami Dolphins were being outgained by over 200 yards a game, which was worse than the NFL. And this game was a lot closer than that. So you see a disparity like that and you think, oh my gosh, like this game is going to be nowhere near. But we also know that our Buffalo Bills have been a team that's really struggled to put teams away, right? Every game they've had to make some miracle return. And this was no different, right? They let them right back in.
We were going through it. I was trying to go through the stats as quick as I could before we went live tonight. And I think I could be wrong, could be off a little bit on the numbers. But I think Allen was 8 for 8 in the fourth quarter. And if you start to chart his fourth quarter production throughout the year, it's actually pretty amazing. Just looking at the splits prior to this game in the fourth quarter for Josh Allen, he was 16 of 25 for 64%, 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks.
Yep.
His highest rating of 122, which is 30 points higher than any other quarter that he's had. So it seems that either he's just slow to get it going, where the defense has to carry it. And this is one of those games where the defense, I feel, had some struggles. We start to see how big a piece Matt Milano is in this defense because either Lorenzo Alexander or both Alexanders basically were covering. That's where Fitz was going. And if one thing we could take away from Ryan Fitzpatrick in his years of playing in the NFL is he's a very smart guy. He's going to know where to go with the football. Now, does he throw a 15-yard out like an outfielder throwing to third base with a crow's hop? That's what he looks like.
I know.
So
you're right.
Two huge. But here's what it was. This game, more than any other game, we could say the defense had to have a turnover for them to come back.
Right.
And you had Trey White twice, who came up huge today.
Trey was big. Trey was big.
So huge today. He had an amazing game today, and I got to get back to the chat. I lost the chat.
Oh, jeez.
No, but I was looking
new?
up. I was looking up analyst stats, so I wanted to do that.
So
will get back
those
to
of
the
you
chat.
who are joining us on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button for us. The chat is wide open, so we are excited to talk to everybody. We got our buddies. I think Matthias is there. Hey, what's going on? So anything you guys want to talk about, let's throw it in the chat. Let's talk about it. I think the very first piece that we should talk about is the Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano dynamic, right?
Yes.
Because Tremaine Edmonds got exposed a little bit today, right? He did not look as comfortable out there. He was asked to step up and kind of fill that middle gap a little bit.
Yes.
But still also be very wary of pass coverage because you had Maurice Alexander, who really hasn't played linebacker in 3 seasons, truthfully. So it's been some time for him. And he just didn't. Edmonds got exposed a little bit. There were a lot of those inside runs that Miami was able to kind of wash him out a bit. I thought he got a little sticky, early in the game.
A little bit.
And I think some of that is because you didn't have that monster Matt Milano waving tackles behind him. So I want to talk about that a little bit.
Well, no, yeah, it just goes to show you the importance that a Matt Milano role plays on this team, where you're either going to have so it affects it 2 ways. Number one, Matt Milano being in the game, Lorenzo has the freedom to play with his hand in the dirt a little bit more, which means the defensive rotations are a little bit more crisp. Okay,
Right.
So the fact that Milano was not in the game, Alexander had to play up.
Sure did.
So he had to play up a little bit more. What does that do? It takes him away from defensive tackle, where he's really good at moving forward a little bit.
Right.
At this age, at this point in his career, I think he will be one to admit it, even that moving laterally, covering is in his strong suit in this defense right now. So that being said, it affects everything else that comes along with it. So then, if you want to play Alexander down, Mo Alexander comes in. I thought that they were either going to put Poyer there, they were going to put Neal there, and they didn't.
Yeah, no,
so
they didn't.
In that respect, good things though. We had Teron Johnson come back. You had some other guys come back, which was great. But missing Matt Milano in there affects so many other pieces of this defense, because maybe this shows you just how much of a team defense it is that Frazier has set up, is that you have this role. If you play this role, the way we want you to play it is great. But if you have a guy in there that can't play that role as well as the one, it just throws everything else off in the defense and it doesn't click. You got Hyde and Poyer back there. Wallace had some trouble today. Let's just talk about what it was. He had some trouble because he's usually a guy that guards the speedsters, and White will guard the big, huge guys.
Right.
It was switched today. And we started to see the different dynamics of the two corners.
And the truth is, Miami doesn't have the playmakers to be able to avoid Trey White like other teams do. Like, other teams can work their way around Trey and kind of game plan opportunities for the guys that they want to target. But Miami just doesn't have the playmakers to be able to say, okay, well, you're on Trey White today, so we're going to try and scheme you open a little bit. Miami just doesn't have the talent in order to do that. And I thought, from a Ryan Fitzpatrick game, this was a very good Ryan Fitzpatrick game. He managed it well. He called what was called, but I think it shows you just how bad Miami really is. Miami they're a bad football team. They're a bad football team, and it's not just culture.
Well, it could be. How about your boy Crossman? Is the special team? I didn't realize Crossman was the special teams coach.
Yeah.
And look what happens. How perfect of an ending is that for Crossman in Buffalo?
Right.
But if you talk about it, as far as culture goes, and I hate to bring this team up, and I know everyone's going to hammer me for this, but I'm willing to go on the limb. We've talked about it many times. The offensive system that Dable's trying to employ is a spin-off of what was run in New England, the EP system.
Right.
It's a boring offense.
Yep.
No one will ever disagree with that. But how many times have we seen over the years as Bills fans, not just against the Bills, but against other teams, you see a team sticking with New England for like 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, they just blow it open.
Yep.
Because they wear on you the whole game. The Bills wear on you. No, New England wears on you. That's what happened today.
But I disagree. We actually have some comments in the chat that I want to bring up from Sportscaster.
All right, beautiful.
So JJ Pollock says they need to forget about the pass and run the damn ball. That's how you wear a team down, is by running the football. And in the first, because I screenshotted it because I was really aggravated. So I took a screenshot of the stats as they stood. So after the Bills' 2 drives had concluded, right? They had 8 pass attempts, and Frank Gore had 3 rushing attempts for 20 yards, right? 3 attempts for 20 yards, that's running the ball successfully. Yet after the first 3 drives where you're looking at 6 total points, you're on the door, you're knocking on the door, you're right there. You had 8 pass attempts and Frank Gore had 3 rushing attempts. And you wonder why you walked away with 6 points after your first 2 possessions. And, I'm sitting there watching the game with my son. I love my son to death. And he's like, well, that's okay. Two field goals is all right. I'm like, Logan, listen, dude, they're a touchdown away from losing this football game right now. Like, you were knocking on the door. You're moving the ball. You're doing fine, but you just get away from running the football. They just had no interest in running the football early.
Okay.
Uh-oh. You're writing something down? Yeah, what you writing?
You have... No, here's my point, is that this thing, you guys are amazing, and I want to get to everything. And then sometimes stuff scrolls through and I miss it. I don't want to miss anything. So I want to make sure that I get to everyone, and I'm saying that we're going to get to this stuff. So we're talking about, they said, we think Joseph will come back. Did Joseph have surgery? I'm not sure.
Voshan?
Yeah.
He's on IR.
He's on IR. Okay, all right. So that's... But I saw it said inactives today, so I didn't know. They always list the IR guys on inactives. Okay, all right. So I apologize for that. But I gave the wrong information.
But designated to be returned.
Designated to be returned.
He could return.
So the other thing was this Singletary. I want to make sure I get the individual.
What's up, Super Sam joins us on Sportscaster. Thank you for joining us.
Stop babying Singletary. Just give him the carries. Derek Robinson comes in.
Yeah,
I think that's great. But here's the thing that we talked about. It's not so much big. I don't know.
It's valid though.
It's valid, but it's the Dolphins.
Come on.
I'm going to pull that card. I'm going to pull that card right now. It was the Dolphins. You want to work him in. So they even said in pregame, this could be a blessing in disguise. We talked about the rookie burnout last week about all these running backs that come back and they just hit the wall. You want to kind of preserve this guy, but he's showing you what he can do. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you have to run him to see if he has the capability to run the ball. You know he can run the ball. And Gore's playing so well. Why not? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So let's just preserve this kid. At least that's what I think the thought process of the Bills is right now. That's what I think. I think that's what they're doing with Singletary.
I see that. I see that. But when you take a look at what the Bills' total stat line is for Singletary, right? So here's the deal. Touch the ball 7 times. So we talked about Singletary 10 touches. That's what we want for him, right?
Did he get 10?
Singletary had 7 rushing attempts for a long of 9, and it does not show that he had any targets in the passing game. So 7.
Okay.
He was averaging 5. Well, he's averaging 5. We wanted 10. Kind of came in right in the middle there at 7. Right?
We wanted 10.
Well, because we're important. Listen, #Nation. These guys, they're important.
They are.
They're important. Yeah, they're important.
End of the day, Tim Ellington, end of the day, Bills won by 10, more than 8, and have a lot to learn from the first half. I thought they were asleep. They were asleep at the wheel in the first half.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough
John
one.
Calvin White did well. Brent comes in with a great question. What's the deal with Robert Foster? So
I saw him try a block a punt.
I thought he was inactive.
Was he inactive?
Foster? Yeah.
I thought I saw 16. I thought I saw 16 busting in a punt.
I don't know if it was 16.
Maybe that wasn't 16.
But it has to be concerning because you went from now having 7 wide receivers to now you only activated 5 for this game.
Well, McKenzie was in.
And I thought Duke had a separated shoulder for a minute. That looked bad.
That looked bad.
But came in with a huge catch when you needed it. I mean, Duke had a huge catch when you needed it.
Yep.
And the thing why, and you can get on Dable for this, but I just want to kind of give you a little teaser here because I know you're going to be upset. A lot of times where Allen had to run or he had to scramble, he had some nice pockets to work with today. I think he really did have some nice pockets to work with. Sometimes they leaked in. That's going to happen. But I think overall he had a good pocket to throw in. If nobody's open, that's on scheme. That's not on Allen. If there's nobody open for him to throw to, and I'll give you guys... all of you that commented and watched the Friday film room that I did, I appreciate you guys, all the feedback you guys gave me. I'm planning on watching this game and only doing this game for that Friday film room so you guys can see.
Sort of an introduction. It was the first time we've done it.
So it was just a little test run for you guys. So if you guys like it, I'll keep doing it. But I'm only going to focus on the Miami game. But that being said, if those guys aren't open, that's got to be concerning for you.
Yeah.
That you're not scheming them open against the Dolphins?
Well, I think there's...
Xavier Howard wasn't even playing.
Well, and I think the Duke Williams catch kind of summarizes a little bit about what's different about a player like Duke Williams versus what's a player like John Brown, right? So let's just highlight that real quick. The play to Duke Williams was a ball that was thrown over his shoulder, and he ran going down the field, right? He was running across the field, catches the ball over his shoulder, keeps running, right? Because of his height, he's able to get those passes. John Brown, that pass has to be here, right? Yes. Duke Williams, that pass can be here. There's a big difference in the way that you can attack a secondary in a player like Duke Williams versus Isaiah McKenzie or John Brown or Cole Beasley, right? The windows to pass and complete those passes is different for a player like them versus a player like Duke Williams. So I see a lot of people saying trade for Julio Jones, trade for A.J. Green. The Bengals announced that A.J. Green is going to be inactive until the trade deadline.
Ooh.
So normally what that means
You
is
don't know what's wrong with him.
you don't. Yep, you're going to be buying damaged goods, right?
Boy.
But
Ronald
they don't want him to
Enix,
get hurt either. Yeah. Oh, Ronald Enix. You know, Ronald recently had some medical stuff come up. He was in the hospital, and great to see him on the on the chat. So thanks for being here, man. Appreciate that. Yeah. So, but I think that's something that we can talk about, right? So Duke Williams doesn't look to have a major injury right now. All that seems to be kind of a little bit overplayed. But does Julio or AJ? What's the deal there, right? If you're going to make AJ Green inactive until the trade deadline, do you think the Bills are really interested? I only want to spend a minute on this. You don't think the Bills are interested?
No, I don't think you get, because if there's any team that knows the most about AJ Green, it's the Bengals right now.
Yeah.
He's been injured. 2 of the last 5 seasons is the only time he's played all 16 games.
Yep.
He's going to be 31.
Yep.
You have a lot of contracts yourself of your own guys that you grew up through this system that you're going to have to pay in the next couple of years. I don't know if he accepts a reasonable deal. I don't know if he will.
Yep.
What does he really do to this offense
Yep.
right now that you don't have? What does he do? I mean, because he's a hell of a player. I'm not going to say he's not.
Yeah.
AJ Green is a heck of a player. But what does he do that can correct some of the things that are going on with Dable and the play calling?
Well, I think I see a lot of, actually, that's a few times I've seen John Patrick talks about Julio. G-Rock says, was talking about Julio. I saw a couple other comments about Julio.
Brian Edgar, get Jerry Rice to come out of retirement.
Yeah, sure.
He could probably be a 40-catch guy for you.
Sure. But Matt Ryan got hurt today. So if you're the Falcons, aren't you kind of like selling it a little bit?
They were selling before today. They're 1-5.
I know. When Devonta Freeman got booted during the game, he got
Him getting
ejected.
lifted off to the ground like a child by Aaron Donald was probably the funniest thing I've ever seen. I saw a tweet that said someone goes, if you get picked off the ground by a grown man and you're a grown man, you only have one option: throw a punch.
Daniel Collum asks, is Jones even on the market? If you're Atlanta, you're selling anything you can. If Matt Ryan's going to be gone for a little bit, I don't think Julio is the guy that you're looking to trade, but there might come an offer that you can't refuse.
I'm just trying to see.
And are the Bills one player away? Is this offense one player away? And is it at wide receiver?
It's at left tackle.
Oh, listen, he spent a lot of time breaking down film for you guys, and I kept getting messages over and over of plays of Dawkins. Like, look at this, just watch this. And there's Dawkins with the cupboards wide open.
Gold. What did you miss? You missed Milano, wide receiver talk. He hasn't broke out on Dable yet, so you don't have to worry about that yet.
No, not yet.
I know.
That's an episode. That's an episode this week.
Dawkins.
That's car talk.
About Dawkins, I keyed. Why? Because I love him. No, I don't. But here's the point. Point I'm trying to get across with Dawkins and this offensive line. If you're one player away, is it a wideout at this point?
Yeah.
Because how much does a wideout change the scope of how your offensive system is run right now?
That's what I mean. Yeah, I'm not really thinking. I don't think it's a wideout.
That's my opinion.
Slick Mongoose says the same thing. We are not one player away, nowhere near.
Okay. I got a couple.
Okay.
And we're gonna try to run through these. Stefan, he comes in, he says the fake kick. What with the fake kick? Everyone in the stadium knew
everybody knew it was a fake. Yeah,
they got nothing to lose. Yeah. Why not?
You got to win a football game. You got to win a game.
Exactly. Yeah, if they get that and they don't throw a pick, it's a different story now going on. All right, that's one. Mike Trotter comes in. He says the QB runs. What's with all the QB design quarterback runs? Because he had successful against them last year. That he's going to be successful this year. The guy's 3 weeks removed from a concussion. You're running him actively.
I think there's actually something at play there. So I want to talk about this a little bit. So you take a look at quarterbacks running with the ball after the line of scrimmage. They're protected differently than running backs or wide receivers after they pass the line of scrimmage. That's just a fact, right? So wide receivers are looked at differently. What's up?
John Christopher, we are one player away. Aaron Rodgers. Good Lord.
That's not to downplay. The value of Josh Allen.
That's pretty funny.
But what I'm saying is that Josh Allen brings with him the opportunity to move the ball down the field faster because it's more subject. Like the odds that you're going to get a flag on a Josh Allen run are significantly better than Devin Singletary or Frank Gore run.
I don't think so because he's been shown to be such an active running quarterback that there are some calls that should go and that don't.
What about that Ryan Fitzpatrick roughing the passer? Shaq Lawson gave him the belly bump. That's it. Fitz hit the ground. Roughing the passer?
No, I wasn't. No, but here's the thing. Allen got hit like that earlier. He got shoved to the ground.
Yeah.
And they didn't call anything. So that's the risk you run when you switch it over.
So,
when you have a guy like Cam Newton, he runs all the time. There was a thing in the.
So you think there's a dynamic here where Allen might have taken the advantage that the rules give him. He might be compromising that because of how active he is moving around.
I think
the
he
field.
does, but I think he's been sliding more this year than he did last year, especially after being
once
hurt.
last week. There we go.
After
Once.
being hurt.
Once.
But I mean, Ryan Edgar comes in, Frank Gore MVP of the Bills, Josh Allen can't make quick reads. Madden Football Talk. Madden Football Talk was pretty active today.
Yeah.
I watched the film of the Titans game.
Yeah.
All right, and I was breaking that down. I went through all of Allen's throws. It took me about half hour. Mm-hmm. You know how I love breaking down film. I love doing that.
Oh yeah.
So I did that. I broke it down, and a lot of those throws, guys were opening, and Allen. Tell me if you've heard this before. He wasn't throwing until the guy was open.
John Brown, that pass to John Brown today across where he ran. He
Touchdown?
started. I don't remember. I don't think it was a touchdown.
All right.
So Allen was in the pocket for like a year, and Brown had beat his man because the man was shading Brown to the outside. Brown was in the slot, ran up and run a crosser across the field. Allen had a year. John Brown had beat coverage the second he made the turn on the route. And Allen stared at them the whole time.
Lofton talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so frustrating because he was open. He was open a second and 10 yards ago. You know, like it's just so frustrating to watch him do that.
I saw in the Titans game there were so many times when Beasley and Brown got open, and Allen wouldn't throw it until they were open. And by the time it got there, they weren't open.
Yeah,
again.
the window's closed.
So the window's closed.
But that's a growing quarterback. You're going to get that. You have to know you're going to get that.
Well, that's timing for me. That's timing. What are you working on all week if it's not timing?
Yeah.
That's the QB runs. We had Pierre Martinez came in and said, "Will we have Milano back for the Eagles?" I think today was just precautionary to see what would happen.
If you're gonna rest Milano, you're gonna rest him against the Dolphins, who haven't won a game, right? If you're gonna take that chance, you're betting on your team. You're gonna rest him against the Dolphins.
John Calvin comes in. He says Allen is like 32nd in going deep. He's not good. Not good in going deep. But here's the thing that bugs me the most, and I think it's almost that time for Brian Dable. For you.
No.
I think it's almost that time.
Nope. It's an episode.
That's an episode. That's going to be an episode.
You're
going to still make them wait?
Yeah, I am. Do you know why? Because I need a donut to think about this. I need some angel cream donuts.
Here's the thing that gets me about going deep.
Yeah.
You ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Very hard to go deep in the NFL. All right. There's some teams that can do it. They do it well. I understand that.
Yeah.
What are the teams that do it and do it well? They run successfully,
Yep.
and they hit short routes over the middle. Now, the reason why you pepper all those short routes in there and you run the ball successfully is so you can go deep.
Right. Yeah.
Why are you not going deep once you have a couple successful runs? You have a couple successful runs, you throw it over the middle. Quick out. You run Allen. None of that translates to going deep after that.
Right.
So you're setting up the guys to try to creep in to try to stop the run or those short passes, and then you got to go deep. Why is he not calling those?
Brian Edgar, Paul, be a man. Say what you think.
But I will say
we'll
this:
get there.
Of the couple deep throws that Allen had, he missed two. Really,
Oh, by a mile. If I'm watching this game, if I'm the next three opponents, I'm like, I'm not worried about Allen throwing the ball deep. He overthrew two deep balls by 8 and 9 yards at a time. Like, I'm not worried about Allen a deep ball at all. And Andre Roberts is not the guy that I'm thinking is running down the field for me. You know, like it's.
Well, maybe that's the element that when we talked about with Milano, he affects everything around him. Foster here. With Foster's on the other side of Brown, how much does that flip the dynamic of the team?
Yeah.
Because Duke not really a burner. He can go deep, but he's not a burner.
Right.
You got Beasley who runs those intermittent routes. You have Knox and those guys in the middle. So I don't think from that perspective, okay, they're covering over the top on Brown. He can't go deep. Once Foster comes back, they have to devote all those, they have to get all those resources to cover the deep ball with those guys. Everything underneath will be so much more wide open. And then later in the game, a deep ball may present itself.
Right.
With Foster there. I don't think you have that right now with only one guy with smoke out there just.
Yeah, I agree.
that.
I agree with that. So trade deadline is coming up. So a lot of talk about Knox in the chat. I do want to talk about Dawson Knox in the chat. What?
Evan Anderson comes in. He goes, Mario, can you explain this to me using Common Core math? I could, but then we'd have like 6 viewers by the time I was
Yeah,
done.
that's right. That's right. Also, if you're just new to the video on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. We might very much appreciate it. If you're new to Hashtag Sports, go ahead and give us a subscribe. We release content all week, and we're here for you guys. So we're in the chat. Anything you guys want to talk about, let's talk about it. I got asked in Sportscaster from, I want to get the screen name correct, Hip Farm Daddy. It's a cool name, actually. So Hip Farm Daddy asking if a linebacker is in.
I'm waiting.
I'm proud of you.
I'm waiting. Oh my God! You totally missed the helmet, you jerk. Oh,
everybody heard it.
One-eyed Willie.
You're fine. That forehead will absorb a lot more than that.
Your chopstick pinky hit you in the face. Good Lord.
You're fine.
Oh God, it hurts so bad.
Are the Bills really in play for? Are the Bills in play for a linebacker at the trade deadline?
Oh boy, we saw Sanford.
Yep.
Never.
No,
today.
Didn't play.
So is he just designated to play the middle?
Special teams. That's it.
Special teams?
I saw him in special teams.
Because Edmonds never came off the field,
No.
so he's only designated to play the middle.
Yep.
I don't know.
Or do you need another pass rusher? The Bills brought 4 all day, and while pressure
brought Johnson
was there,
a couple times.
They brought Johnson a couple
off the corner.
times, but I mean, there wasn't really a phenomenal pass rush from an efficiency standpoint. But again, Sean McDermott is known for not putting up 20, 15, 16 sack guys. Like, it's just not a thing for the type of defense that he prefers. Now, it's Leslie Frazier's system, so I don't even want to go down that road. But the fact is that Sean McDermott's not going to freak out if guys aren't getting sacks. That's not a concern for him.
Pressure is just as good as getting a sack.
Right. In his mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I understand that, and because it can force errant throws, it could force, and with the secondary that you have that is playing very, very well, it could be some. And a lot of people are talking about getting a pass rush. It could be, but getting a pass rusher, a designated pass rusher that you're going to pay, like a Von Miller, that you're going to have to pay so much money. I think of it in terms of they're playing team defense and they're playing team offense. Like we talked about with one wide receiver, Julio Jones or AJ Green or anybody of that type, change the complexity of this offense to where they were going to go to another level. Well, would Von Miller change it? How much would Von Miller change how this defense plays? Because they play swarming 4 guys coming right at you, collapsing the pocket, and so they could play 7 across.
Yeah,
I'd rather play 7 across than have to blitz an extra guy.
Yeah.
So do you think that one defensive end provides that much more of a rush? Because then they could shift their blocking to him.
See, I'm not really frustrated with Murphy. I'm not really frustrated with Hughes. I'm not frustrated with Oliver or Latulele. Can't believe those words just came out of my mouth about Star Latulele. I'm not frustrated with Jordan Phillips. I'm not. Yeah, look at this. Look at this.
This is a thing of beauty.
If this doesn't farm produce, I don't know what will, because people will be throwing tomatoes and lettuce at this guy.
You have no respect for the big uglies in the middle.
No, I don't.
No respect.
No, I don't. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not understanding that. That's fine.
You're going to smack by the video today.
The fact still remains. I went to hit the helmet. Listen. The fact still remains that does a linebacker change this, or is it a defensive end? Like, the linebacker group is thin, so I'm not talking about necessarily a marquee level player, but the linebacker depth scares me a little bit. You lose Edmonds, you're in big trouble. You have to go 3 games without Milano, 4 games without Milano. I think the Bills are making a trade, but it sounds like he's going to be healthy for the next game.
Yeah, they would have done something, or would have pressed the panic button, or unless the asking price was too high for some of these players. But to me, what kind of guy would you want to have in there?
Right.
Because we always talk about Milano being a little bit undersized for that position. You know what I mean? He's like 6'1", maybe 225 or something like that. So he should probably be. I wouldn't go against them getting another kind of like hybrid safety, like a Tyrann Mathieu or any of those types of guys that can play both. So, you know what I mean? Poyer can play that position perfectly.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
He's a little bit undersized. He was in the box today, sniffing around a few of those plays. But you can't break up that tandem back there. You got to have that tandem back there.
I agree with that.
Would putting Poyer down there in Milano's spot and putting Kurt Coleman next to Hyde, would that work? I don't know, a couple games maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a long-term solution. But if you're not going to go get a linebacker, that's the route I would go. I
Right.
would try to get a guy that's kind of been in that hybrid role. He's pretty fast. He's a little undersized, but he's not afraid to get his nose dirty. That's the kind of guy that you want from Milano.
So there's a lot of talk about Dawson Knox in the chat, and a lot of people are hating on Dawson Knox. So let's kind of unpack what his day was and what our level of expectation is. Oh, Dan Mitchell, thank you very much, man. Hey, appreciate that.
We need to make a move for Trent Williams.
Ooh, okay.
I was waiting for that name to come up.
Yeah, that name's definitely going to come up. So Trent Williams, from a left tackle perspective, right, totally changes the complexity of this offense.
What does he play?
Left tackle.
Okay.
He would play left tackle on this offense.
Here's the thing that we need to. We got to talk about before we talk about Trent Williams.
Okay, all right.
And this is in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
The numbers.
Yeah.
What are the numbers going to be for Green, Jones,
Okay.
Trent Williams, any of these other guys have to come in? They're going to bleed into all these other guys that the Buffalo Bills have to re-sign.
Okay.
Because they're not one player away.
All right, so let's do this. Let's have a conversation about Dawson Knox, because the chat
Yeah.
is blowing up right
so
now.
we'll do Knox, but
so
then
let's talk
that's the
about Knox,
thing
and then I'll pull up the numbers while we're doing that.
Okay. So if we're talking about Dawson Knox, a lot of people are hating on him. I didn't see Croft too much today.
No.
He was blocking phenomenally, some of the
Right.
plays that they had when they showed the replay. But as far as Knox goes, I think he's still he's we gotta remember he's a rookie. He's still trying to get the scope of this offense.
Well, that drop in the middle of the field,
That was ridiculous.
That was pretty rough.
He was trying to do a little
It's
too
hard to
much.
justify anything there with something like that. That was a rough drop.
Allen plays bad. People blame Dable. Edmonds plays bad. People blame Starr. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and that's I think the excuse train can run as fast as you want it to here. But Knox got called on a hold penalty on a Frank Gore on a nice Gore run, right? That got called back, and then Knox drops the ball in the middle of the field. That gets called back.
True.
So I think there's a level of expectation for Dawson Knox that isn't there for other players. So the question becomes, does Tyler Kroft take a little bit of pressure off Dawson Knox, or did Tyler Kroft put pressure on Dawson Knox, or is this just a funky game? Because people have been begging for Dawson Knox to get more targets, right? And he took himself out of the game today, right? If you perform at a level like that, your day's not going to improve because McDermott's going to say, listen, kid, you got to dial it back a little bit, right? You got to dial it in. You're not focused right now. You're not focused. And the drop was just a basic, simple mistake that we've all made playing sports. You stop paying attention to the ball. Hey, Matthias, thank you so much, man. Next time with some beer again. Oh, yeah, don't worry. That's next week.
That's next
oh,
week.
yeah, next
Yeah,
week.
we were already telling
beer
you guys.
time. It'll be beer 30.
It'll be beer 30 and courtesy of Shiva's Gold.
Yep, Shiva's Gold.
We're going to have the Modelo.
Yeah, Modelo for the Eagles game.
We haven't
And big
forgot.
updates from Sportscaster on the broadcast from Sportscaster. We'll get to that in just a minute. So Dawson Knox today, from a stats perspective, not a sexy day at all. 5 targets, 2 receptions, 22 yards, which kind of mirrors his game last week.
Yeah.
Because he had 6 targets last week, 2 receptions.
They ran certain formations with him in the middle, and they ran mirror routes last week against 2 weeks ago against Tennessee.
Explain what that is,
So the
please.
mirror routes basically is if you have a certain 2-man combination on the right side of your formation, the guys on your left side of your formation are going to run the same exact routes. It's going to be a mirror formation.
Right.
He was running down the middle when they went 5 wide sets. He was running down the middle of the field, basically just try to hold either an outside linebacker or the middle, and try so the safety couldn't get to the number 2 wide receiver in,
Right.
or the number 1 wide receiver or anything like that. So that being said, a lot of times he was open in the middle, and Allen didn't hit him.
Nope.
That one today, when he's running that, they just think he's running a clearing route.
Yeah.
And many times that is just a clearing route, just to get everyone out, just to get the linebacker to turn his hips so Beasley can come underneath or anything like that. He ran down, and Allen actually hit him. So that could be a scenario where he didn't even think he was getting the ball. You know what I mean? So if I'm running a clearing route and my quarterback throws me the ball, obviously I should be ready to catch it. However, that's not usually the thing that's happening. I mean, we saw Beasley didn't even have his head turn on the first series. You know what I mean? He didn't expect the ball to get there that fast. Do we put that on Beasley? I know the ball that hit Knox's hands, he should catch it. I understand it. He caught it, he turned his head, he was all ready to go upfield. He was that excited. I understand all of that's going on with him. But that being said, I really think the sky's the limit for this kid. And what he's able to do in this offense. I think there's so many guys that are new, that are learning what this offense actually entails.
Right. So as far as Dawson Knox goes, and the game plan for today, we saw McKenzie very involved, right? But it was from a play setup standpoint. So we saw that jet sweep a lot today, right? The jet sweep set up a couple RPOs. And what it did was it got Isaiah McKenzie involved in the offense, right? Something that we haven't really seen at all. I think McKenzie took one snap last week, right? Like it's just he wasn't involved in the game plan at all. But you saw these jet sweeps, right? And what that does is it opens things up because Mario actually broke down a play where the Bills run a jet sweep on his Film Room Friday. So it lined up perfectly. If you watched the Film Room Friday, you saw what they did today, and it was very similar, right?
Yeah.
With what they were trying to do from a setup standpoint. So here's what happens, right? When you run those jets, you're dictating, and jet sweep is when the wide receiver runs behind the line of scrimmage right before the snap. So what it does is it opens up 4 possible play opportunities. You can either hand it off to the wide receiver on the jet, you can hand it off to the running back, quarterback could keep it, right? Or he could throw it. So it opens up 4 opportunities on that specific play that are a little bit different than what a standard play is. Now, what that does is it dictates coverage across the defensive line, so it kind of controls pass rush a little bit, and it controls coverage on the second level, on the linebacker level. But Dawson Knox, not very involved on those types of plays, right? Because he's got to stay on the back, because he was lined up on the backside of those plays all day. So he's got to stay on the backside of that jet.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
So if you're frustrated with Dawson Knox, understand today was not the day where he was going to go out and catch 7 balls for 68 yards. Today was just not the day. They were playing a lot of those jets. He was on the backside of most of them, and his job was to stay and wait until Allen made the decision on what was going to happen with the play. Either he was going to keep it or he was going to play action and make a throw, but he was only an outlet on those plays. And that was actually a bunch of plays that the Bills ran on offense. So there is a little bit there that you have to kind of take Dawson Knox's day with a grain of salt. While it wasn't the best day for a rookie, and days like this are important. I'd rather it happen against Miami than happen against the Patriots late in the season. So there you go.
I got you. Butcher's Block, Patriots talk. Rum Boys Northeast comes in. It was good.
Hey, what's
good?
good
for y'all? Awesome. Good to see you. Mikey Mike comes in and says, Paul, that's why I don't like going empty so much. It's limiting what the defense has to defend. I think that's good. That's good and bad.
That's a fascinating point.
That's
yeah,
good. It's good and bad because what you do is, I think going empty is more to help Allen diagnose what the coverage is. Because if you go 5 wide, they got to go man.
Right.
All right. And if you put a running back out wide, it sometimes, and this is going to sound like a broken record because I brought it up before, is if you put a running back out wide and they put a linebacker on him, then you know it's man. If they put a corner on him, then you know it's zone. So that's helping Allen just diagnose things a little bit simpler. If you go double tight, and then they're all flying around. You notice when Allen has trouble and the offensive line has trouble is when guys are standing up and kind of you don't know who's coming, who's not coming. Yeah. Patriots did a lot of that, which is what stifled Allen and the offense. So
that got Allen today a little bit. That got
Tennessee
Allen today.
did it.
Yep.
Miami did it today. Flores came from New England, so he already had that in
They were selling out on blitzes when they did it today.
Yeah, I don't mean to sound like that guy that says when you give him time, he can complete passes. When the defensive front for the Dolphins was 4 guys down, 3 guys behind him, they knew who to pick up.
Well, and not only that, but like you could put a man in motion, you're not learning anything. You're not. What do you? You got.
They don't use much
guys,
of it.
Right. You got 8 guys at the line. You put a tight end in motion. Allen did it today. They're all standing. He motioned in the wide receiver to see if they were going to move with him, and it didn't happen. So
a lot of those guys will kind of flip that back and forth too. You can motion a guy across and just say it's still man, but the other guy on the other side of the field is going to take him anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Bill Barone says still can't figure out why what we're trying to do on offense. No continuity with the plays, or Allen isn't reading the field. I did see a little bit of stare down Allen, but again, these things come with the rookie quarterback. You just have to accept that. I thought the Bills were running the ball effectively, and I guess I struggled a little bit to understand why they weren't using the run a little bit more, because they were play actioning a lot. And to me, the play action game only works when you're really running the football. And while they were effective running the football from a volume perspective, it just didn't really feel that way. I don't know, maybe I'm just a prisoner of the moment there. But I feel like that's the way I feel.
It seemed like once again, Dable was testing the waters on what he can run and what he can't.
Right. I mean, you look at across the board, Patrick DeMarco had 1 carry for 4 yards, the 6th carry of his career. Devin Singletary had 7 carries for 26 yards. Frank Gore only had 11 carries for 55 yards. He did have a couple runs washed out. It is what it is. Butcher's Block, thank you so much. Bills look like a wild card team. Yeah, I mean, the AFC is falling apart fast. AFC's falling apart fast and big time. So the Bills definitely look like...
Yeah, you talk about Houston. Houston beats Kansas City, and then they lose to Indianapolis today.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and a lot of people are writing Indy off as, well, luck's gone, so there's one less playoff team in the AFC.
Yeah, and Brissett's actually pretty good.
Yeah, Brissett's not a bad. He's not a bad quarterback.
So
he's a smart guy too.
Two former New England quarterbacks that got traded
and are now
starters.
Yeah. Yep.
You think that might have been Brady not wanting anybody to take his mantle?
Oh God, let's not. Can we just stop saying the B word for one thing? G-Rock says this win feels like a loss. I think a lot of people come in with expectations that we were just going to put the Patriots down on the pavement and just absolutely pound, or put the Dolphins down on the pavement and pound them into oblivion. And I don't really know if this is the team that does that, right? I think the Bills are going to do just enough to win, right? They're going to stick to their game plan. They're going to adapt as they need to, and they're going to do just enough to win because you still won the football game, right? You're going to control the clock. That's what you want to do. It's annoying. It's annoying football.
Yeah, Edgar caught me on that one. He said Mario said that Miami was a high school team, and they are. I don't know what happened.
A high school team that scored more points on a Bills defense than the Patriots did. Somebody else I saw that in the chat a while ago. Whoever put that in the chat, please let me know because that was an awesome point. I want to bring that up. I don't remember who it was. It was a while ago in the chat, but somebody in the YouTube chat had said this is a Miami team that scored more points on us than the Patriots, and you're absolutely right. They sure did.
At home, both at home too.
Yep. Yep.
We knew that the defense of the Buffalo Bills. I mean, because there's other factors. We already talked about it at the beginning of the show. We talked about Milano. You know what I mean? That's a huge factor going on, and it affected so many people around him. You start to talk about how this Bills team is starting to be.
Tim Ellington said it.
Oh, he's starting to be set up. There's going to be some times where this offense is going to have to bail out the defense every once in a while. Okay, it's going to happen. It's going to have to happen this year. This offense is still trying to learn and get its feet. After 6 weeks, after playing two, you got to think about it this way: the Patriots game was awful. This game was awful, and the Jet game was awful.
Right.
They're 2-1 in games playing awful. You know what I mean? Usually they're 0-3. You know what I mean? So as bad as the Bills have played against some of these teams offensively and sometimes defensively, they're 5-1.
Right.
Now the only solace that I take out of this is why I'm not losing my mind is that I feel right now the Bills right now are playing December football in October. And I said it before. I said they're playing December football in September. So these are the types of games that are ugly and disgusting that you're going to have to grind out. Right. Now, if the Bills went on and were blowing teams out for these 5 wins, and they never had to face any kind of adversity, any kind of, game type situations where they're going to have to, the situational footballs we talk about all the time, then they would when they finally got smacked in the mouth, it'd be kind of tough. But now all these games are grinds.
Right.
Now, whether or not that wears the team down going forward, I don't know. But they're being tested, and they're having adverse situations in every single game. That's got to help them grow when it gets December.
Right.
It has to.
Evan Anderson said something in the chat that I want to bring up, and he said the offense has been pretty awful all season. Awful and winning is still winning. That's the truth. Awful and winning is still winning.
That's why there's concern for it, though.
Yeah.
That's why there's such a concern.
This game was a Trey White interception away from being a much closer football game, right? Trey breaks on that ball, stops a goal line.
It would have been 21-9 at that point, right?
I don't. Yeah.
Because the Bills got a 98 drive out of that.
Yeah, they did. They went 98 to score.
Which tells you, but
that's a phenomenal drive. And I don't think I do think there are times where we don't exactly champion the fact that the Bills marched 98 yards down the field, and we absolutely should. Because we complain about the offense being kind of.
It's a catch-22 because they're like, listen, you're losing to the Dolphins, but then you drive 98 yards. Well, it's the Dolphins,
right?
Okay, all right, it's still a team. It's a division game.
Yep.
You're 2-1 in your division right now. You're 5-1 overall. You're 4-1 in AFC, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I get that right. Yeah. They only played one NFC team, right?
Yeah.
They played the Giants.
Yeah.
Okay. I have no idea. Anyway, but that being said, you're 4-1 in your conference, so that puts you above a lot of these other teams anyway.
Oh, John Marlowe just said something. It said John Marlowe said the Bills played a vanilla defense today to not show much to the Eagles. That's a fascinating look because the Bills only brought 4 all day. They didn't really bring anything crazy.
We talked about this, didn't we, prior to the...
We did, but again, it's always tough to say that, a team is not going to put much on film because they didn't take an opponent very seriously. Listen, the Bills were losing this football game today, so it's tough to really argue that.
If you think about it, the defense that they played against the Bengals was far different than how they played at New England. I know they're different teams. However, they were keeping things close to the vest playing against the Bengals, and they were down in that game, and they ended up coming back. Today, I mean, he has a great point. They played a very vanilla defense. I didn't see a lot of blitzes. I saw Teron Johnson blitz a couple times because that's what he's used to doing. He's used to getting his nose dirty. You want to bring him back slowly. You didn't blitz him every time. And then you have these other teams. Maybe they're going to play the Eagles completely different. You don't know. You don't know how that's going to work out.
Right.
Vastly different weapons that the Eagles
Vastly
have
different.
versus. So the run game definitely has to be tightened up. We're going to get to the Eagles preview this week sometime, but vastly different preview of how it's going to work against the Eagles versus working against Miami today.
I know, I'm getting called out in the chat because I'm not burying Dable. It's going to be an episode this week. We're going to record in the car after we're done here.
It'll probably be
give you your
Tuesday.
basic episode.
So do you want to give them the previews you said earlier that was going to happen?
Oh, Sportscaster.
Sportscaster.
So here's the deal. First off, before we do anything else, if you guys want to come out and hang out with us on Saturday, I'm going to be at Legends and Stars at Batavia Downs. Tons of Buffalo Bills autographs. Mario is unavailable. But Joe from Believers Talk, who normally does the play-by-play for us here on Sportscaster, is going to be joining us. So Devin Singletary is going to be there. Duke Williams is going to be there. Harrison Phillips, Ed Oliver, all signing autographs. They are pay per autograph, but it's still an awesome opportunity to get out there and get some autographs and meet some Bills. So we are definitely going to be there. Chief is going to ask him if the Dable episode is going to be an hour long. It is not going to be an hour long. My head will explode before that happens.
We're going to get pulled over.
Yeah, right. But with Sportscaster specifically, next week we might be, and I'm understanding it from, I was talking to Sportscaster today, we are now going to have be able to broadcast the actual game on the play-by-play, but only on Sportscaster. So you're going to get the broadcast coverage along with our play-by-play. So you'll be able to watch the game on Sportscaster with us during the play-by-play.
Yes.
So we're very excited about that.
So this whole thing will be up in the corner. Up here.
And you'll actually... Yeah, thanks for that.
So that'll all be up there. But like I said, like Paul says, you can watch the actual game with us calling the game.
Yep. You'll be able to watch the TV broadcast
amazing.
of the game, so we're very excited about that. Dustin H., the Bills only turn the ball over once, or the Bills only turn the ball over once, or they don't win. Listen, I'm totally cool with a no-turnover Buffalo Bills team. I think you have to do that if you want to win football games right now. You're in these close games, you can't afford to be giving the football over.
Okay.
You can't give the football up.
No, you can't. No.
I do want to get to, we talked about Trent Williams, Julio Jones, and A.J. Green, so let's talk about contracts, right? Because that was brought up a while ago.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the contracts of these guys because, like you said, these contracts either at the end or nearing the end, and they're going to have to either re-sign them and or get an asset themselves from these guys coming up. Because these, you got to think, in 2020, you got Hyde, or you got Poyer. Right. You got a lot of these guys. I don't know the exact names right now, but you got a lot of these guys for the Buffalo Bills that are key contributors to the Bills team right now that have been cornerstones that you have to pay soon.
Yep.
So here's the guys that are going to probably bleed into those contracts.
So Trent Williams has been a long-standing conversation piece for people in Buffalo. Your offensive line is a subject of concern, right? You got a little bit. We saw Cody Ford play today, which I think answers the question of, is Ty Nsekhe your right tackle, or is Cody Ford your right tackle? Cody Ford played basically the whole game. So I think that kind of answered that a bit, right? So we had talked about the Bills needed to make their decision on right tackle. So they're going with Cody Ford right now. But how long is that really going to be the plan? I don't foresee them taking him off the field now that he's starting. I really don't. But with that being said, Trent Williams is still a piece of conversation. So from a dollar standpoint, we talked to $12.5 million next season. Would end up costing you about $6 million for this season against the salary cap, which is whatever, right? You got tons of cap space if you're the Bills. But the thing about Trent Williams is you have him for next season, which a lot of these other players like A.J. Green, A.J. Green's contract is only for the rest of the season. Even Butcher Block says, don't go after A.J. Green. Don't do it. You're buying damaged goods. I definitely see where you're coming from there. So Trent Williams is going to cost you about $6 million this year, about 12.5 next season. And Washington is pretty much holding fast to the fact that they want at least a first round pick for him. If you believe that Bean will trade a first round pick for a player, I would love to hear why you think that, because my opinion of the matter is that Bean values those players, those first round picks, simply too much. He does not have enough picks in the second and third round to be able to trade a first round pick. That is just my opinion.
Say it.
What?
Say it.
What?
Come on, you always say the same phrase every time you talk about a blank of picks.
Oh, war chest.
He has to have a war chest of picks for him to
I
trade
guess
it
that's my
first.
word. I guess if I have a word, that's the word.
He says Bean will not do it unless he has a war chest of second and third rounders.
But again, you bring in Trent Williams. He's 31 this year. He's going to be 32 next season. If you feel like that's the piece of your offense that's missing right now, go ahead. Right? Go ahead, because the Bills have shown the last 4 games that they really don't have an interest in running the ball 25 times a game. So you have to be efficient as a pass rush offensive line guy. You have to be able to pass protect across that offensive line. If you don't feel like your offensive line can protect your quarterback because you're not running the ball 25 times a game, then you need to go about trying to address that.
Realistically, how long do you think you would have Trent Williams? Because he's 31 now, he'll be 32 next year. Do you think you have him for this year notwithstanding?
Here's the deal: you're not franchise tagging any other player by the time his contract expires.
No, I'm saying if he's here, right?
Yeah.
And then 2020, do you think you have him for at least 2022 till he's 34 years old? Because
you
here's
franchise
the deal.
tag him twice. Yeah.
No, I'm not talking franchise. I'm talking about a deal that you get signed
He's
in
not going to sign another
2021 and
2-year
2020.
deal. He's not going to sign a 2-year deal.
All right, if he doesn't sign a 2, well, that takes off the table then. But here's my point. At the end of the season, they have to figure out whether or not they're going to sign Deion Dawkins.
Yeah.
They're captain left tackle.
Yeah.
Now, if they sign him to a 5-year deal, they see something that obviously we don't. Okay, that's 1. 2, if they think about signing him to 3 or less, you make the trade for Williams.
Okay.
Because you're going to have him the same amount of time. He's a better player.
Yeah.
And the money that it would cost to re-sign Dawkins is going to cost you
on Trent Williams anyway.
Yeah. So and you have him for next year at $12.5 million because Washington actually has to take the bonus.
Right.
So,
So
even though his
Washington
cap
has to eat
number is
5
$14.75 mil is his cap number, the Bills are only on the hook for his base salary and can probably work it, prorate it, whatever they have to do if they want to try to extend him for another year after that. Who knows?
Right.
But if you're only thinking about signing Dawkins to a 3-year deal, you're going to have him for 2, Williams for 2.
It
seems like a
let's
trade-off.
call it what it is, right? Players might have been hesitant to get traded to the Buffalo Bills because they typically weren't a winning franchise. But look at where this team is right now. If somebody walks to you in week 1 and says, "Listen, we got an offer from the Bills, we'll work with you on it. What do you think?" And then I'm not going to Buffalo. Okay, well now you walk in at week 7 and say, "Listen, we got that offer from the Bills is still on the table." You're like, "Well, they're 5-1, right?"
Yeah.
Right. That makes a difference to players.
Well, the thing is, though, as far as you talked about with Bean, it's not a 1-for-1. If you trade, you'd have to give a pick to Washington, who's 0-6 at this point.
And you're giving 5 years away. Every time you trade a first-round pick, you're giving 5 years of a player away, and you're inheriting 2 years, a year and a half of Trent Williams.
I would
Is it worth it?
I would go one further than you, Paul. I would say if you're trading a first, second, or third round pick, you're giving a 4-year starter away.
Yeah.
Because you got to think about it in that respect. You're giving a 4-year start. The way that you're trying to develop players, it's a 4-year starter, first pick through third round.
Every single first through third round pick that the Bills have drafted underneath Sean McDermott is currently a starter.
Not Jones.
If they're still on the team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're still on the team.
But I think the Zay Jones trade sets that level of expectation. Like, you will start for us, or we invested this asset in you. If you're not going to start for us, we're just going to we'll get something out of it.
Quick follow up.
Sure.
Does a 4th rounder count in there too? Because Bean's able to flip 2 4s for a 3rd sometimes.
I don't know. I mean, they've already got some later round picks already, so I don't think so.
I'm just saying.
Julio Jones, and I saw Daniel Gary's just bring this up. Julio Jones was just signed to a contract extension, right? Big money contract extension.
Oh.
Here's the deal, though.
Good Lord.
Here's the deal.
How many zeros is
for
that?
Buffalo, he's not that expensive. If you trade for Julio Jones from a wide receiver dollar point, he's not that expensive because they put a ton of money in signing bonus. So Atlanta's got to eat all of it in order to trade him.
$41 million in signing bonus.
$41 million.
That's in his account right now.
But that's the deal. If you're going to trade for Julio Jones, guess how much money you got to eat? Prorate $41 million over however many weeks the NFL season is till he's 34. So his deal runs through 2023.
Like a Bobby Bonilla contract.
Yeah, exactly. It would cost Atlanta about $35 million in dead cap to trade Julio Jones. It's not going to happen.
No, they're not going to trade him.
They can't. They can't trade him. Financially, they don't have the space to trade him.
No,
they can't trade him.
They can't at all because
they don't have
that's the
space.
problem that we're running into as far as like people talking about Vic Beasley. They can't re-sign Beasley because
of the Julio
these
Jones
contracts. But what the other problem that you would run into with Julio Jones is the same problem you'd run into with Antonio Brown. What we talked about over the summer was the minute he got traded, he's going to want a new contract. Mm-hmm. None of that base salary is guaranteed to Julio Jones if he gets traded to the Bills.
Right.
So he would want something completely redesigned. Some of that money maybe thrown into a bonus.
Right, because when you trade...
Even though he's getting paid through Atlanta.
Right, so let's talk about the mechanics of that a little bit. When you trade for a player, the only thing you're responsible for is their base salary. If the contract doesn't have it written as guaranteed money, then guess what? That player could be cut at any time, and it's free to cut them. The Bills did it with Kelvin Benjamin, Corey Coleman. Right, they're free to cut at that point. So Julio Jones has a bunch of money tied up in bonus. Atlanta can't afford to trade him. So that conversation's pretty short.
Yeah, Slick Mongoose comes in. He says the market for good players has been very expensive. Look at the Ramsey trade.
Chris,
they think they're one player away. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl.
Right. Chris Masevsky says Keenan Allen. They're not moving Keenan Allen to the Chargers. They still think they're in it. They still think they're in it.
Plus, they think that
they're not trading.
Even if they get another young quarterback, if they move on from Rivers, what better way to transition a young quarterback than have Keenan Allen there?
Right. AJ Green, as we all have talked about, is on the last year of his deal. He's going to cost you about $7 million based off of salary right now if he were to get traded to Buffalo. But again, the Bengals have said that they are not keeping him inactive at any time prior to the trade deadline. So whatever you're buying damaged goods off of last year's film. That's what you're buying. And are you really comfortable doing that? I don't think Buffalo is really willing to do that at this point. Because you bring in AJ Green, you got to lose somebody. Who are you losing? You're probably losing a wide receiver, which means you're probably losing McKenzie again, but McKenzie was an active part of the offense today. You losing Roberts? Are you losing Duke? Are you losing Foster? Foster seems to be the low man on the totem pole right now. I know he's been nursing a groin injury, but he should be healthy now.
Having those assets of Foster and whatnot and Duke, because they're under very controllable contracts to those teams that are cap strapped, they take the place of a pick.
Right.
So if you're going to trade one of those guys and get an asset, I mean, Jordan Sinikowski says I would trade a first-round pick for Von Miller, or our first-round pick this year shouldn't be that good anyways because we're going to be awesome this year. I mean, it's going to be in the high 20s, but if you think of it this way, that's not a bad idea, but here's the counter to that. There have been so many defensive guys that have been drafted in the first 15 picks over the past 3 years that a lot of those teams already have those guys in place. By the time it gets to you at 20, 24, whatever you're drafting, you're going to have a solid guy to pick from. So that first round pick, you can either use it on Miller or you can get a young stud on a controllable 4-year deal.
Right. Yep, absolutely.
I'm just saying.
I get it. You know, Lyle Lee says from Canada. We have a lot of people international. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we're always here. Anything you guys need, always just ask, man. Always just ask. Did you hear Joe gave away a autographed hat today at the on the
winner
broadcast?
Was in here. The winner was in here.
Can you scroll up to find out who that was?
I will.
So that autographed hat is actually going to be autographed at the Legends and Stars on Saturday. So Joe's going to come up. We're going to get that autograph. So that's actually where that giveaway is coming from. Whoa, stop. It should be right around there.
Daniel Cullum.
Oh, perfect. Daniel won the autograph hat? Awesome. Hey, congrats, man. Congrats. Yeah, we're going to get that autograph for you with Joe on Saturday. So, awesome question. Love it. CM Banks, can you replace Lorenzo Alexander? I expected to see Lorenzo Alexander in a linebacker role today, and I didn't see him in a linebacker role as much today. I saw him more in a down lineman pass rush role like we've seen him play.
No, when he was in coverage, he was getting picked on.
Yeah.
You thought you're Lorenzo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about it earlier. I don't know if you forgot.
No. I remember.
Don't hit me again. Yeah, but the thing about Lorenzo, this is why the discussion I was having.
Mike says he was awful in coverage.
I was having this discussion with Greg Thompson
you.
of Cover One. We were talking about this earlier about Vic Beasley, and then we had an episode that we cut over the summer of linebackers that the Buffalo Bills could get from cap-strapped teams. I mean, we talked about Anthony Barr, we talked about Shaq Thompson, we talked about Levante David.
Yeah, but we don't need pass rush linebackers. I think those are the sexy ones, right? Because you look at linebackers. Well, no, you bring up Vic Beasley. I'm like, he's a pass rush linebacker.
He is a pass rush linebacker. I understand that. You're not going to ask him to cover though.
No.
You're going to ask him to play Lorenzo's role.
Right.
Okay, yeah. Lorenzo's role is I'm going to put my hand in the dirt. Yeah. I'm a younger version of him. He's asked to be the number one stud rushing outside guy. Now, can Beasley handle a defensive a guard? Because he's asked to do the outside rush all the time, and all he really has is a bull rush. I know how you feel about Clemson defensive ends.
Yeah.
But if you need a guy that's maybe similar to a Zoe, why not?
Yeah.
Why not with Beasley? Because Atlanta's not going to be able to afford him. You have familiarity because Bean and McDermott were down there when he got drafted there. So why? Maybe that could have been a guy that you were pounding the table for to say, hey, we got to get Beasley. They didn't get Beasley. Okay.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Well, eye of the moment says, can you retool Shaq Lawson to be and play that role? I don't think you can. Although Shaq Lawson was technically considered a linebacker.
He did go down to defensive tackle.
He did go down to defensive tackle today, right? It was late in the game, so I don't know if that was just a film thing, like, let's put Shaq down on film.
They were rotating a lot of guys.
But I don't think you can ask Shaq Lawson to do that for one reason, and it's not about football. The reason is because he's on the last year of his deal playing 37% of snaps. You're not going to retool a guy to make him more valuable if you're not going to re-sign him. If he had 2 years left on his deal, 3 years left on his deal, I think that you can look at that as a possibility. But here's a guy they declined his 5th-year option. He's going to the last year of his deal.
Yeah.
He's only playing 37% of snaps right now.
True.
And now you're going to ask him to pick up Lorenzo Alexander's piece of the defense, which is irreplaceable, right?
It seems like it.
Very valuable. And then you're just going to make him more valuable to cost you more money anyway? Like, what? I don't get it, right? And maybe once you get towards the end of the season, I just don't see him as being fast enough. I don't see him as being squirrely enough. Like, Lorenzo Alexander's a squirrely guy.
You would think that they would use him up as much as they could this year. Because if they think they're not going to have him, maybe that could be it.
Right.
So I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, it's really weird. I have faith in Bills fan. I have faith in Wallace to chalk this up as just a bad game. He's been pretty amazing all season so far. Yes, he has. And this is what we were talking about earlier. Majority of the time when they play coverages, Trey White will play the big, lumbering, strong wide receiver, and he's able to be physical with him.
Right.
While Wallace will play the speedster, the jet.
Right.
It was kind of switched a little bit today because Dolphins are all over the place. So you had Trey White playing the speedster. I mean, he was playing Devontae Parker, but anytime you saw Devontae Parker line up on Wallace or that Williams kid, who's just a monster, usually when that matchup is for usually that's for Trey White, Levi Wallace was actually matched up against him and had some trouble.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, like I said, it just could have been one of those things where it was just a bad game for him, and they're entitled to have those. We knew this defense was going to have those. If we're going to have bad games against awful teams and still come out with a W, I'm fine with it.
Because you're still walking away.
Away with a win, which,
I don't know.
as you say, solves everything.
Yeah, winning does solve everything.
Solves everything.
The truth is, winning does.
You're not
going to
hear if they lost today, you probably would have heard Cole Beasley getting mad in the locker room. But I don't know because that's not really the culture of the Bills.
No.
So, but you could start to see guys starting to chirp in the locker room if this team was like 2-3 at this point.
Were you frustrated with Jordan Phillips when he sacked Fitzpatrick? He fumbles the ball and Phillips just walked past it because you're still losing the football game at that point. That was right before the Trey interception.
I didn't think he knew that he fumbled.
I agree. Yeah, but
he just rolled over and he was. But this is the same guy that when the Miami Dolphins ran hurry up and he tackled the running back for no loss in Miami last year. He got up and stared at the sideline.
Yeah. Because it was against Miami.
Yeah. I think that's just a thing with him, that he's emotional playing that team. I really think that may be it. I'm not worried about that from him being hurt in the team because it's not going to happen in the playoffs against Miami.
Oh, man, what a great point.
Because we haven't said
what a great point. It's been a long time since we've seen Miami and Buffalo in a playoff game together. That's a fact.
Did you see Shooter McGavin with Jim Kelly and Dan Marino today?
I did not.
It was awesome. Shooter McGavin. I'll try to see if I can put that photo on the community tab.
Yeah. Warcoder Red 01 says Phillips didn't see it. I agree Jordan Phillips didn't see it. But the fact is that it seems like I'm not sure that even if he thought a fumble was happening, like it would have impacted him at that point because he's pretty emotional. I saw some people talk about Von Miller. There's Von Miller in your linebacking group as a rotational player. Here's the deal.
You're very pricey for a
very
rotational.
pricey. So a rotational player costs $17 million a season. $17 million a season. But does he replace Lorenzo Alexander?
Okay, you ready?
Because I think he does. If you're looking for Von Miller to play Lorenzo Alexander's job, you can get that, but it's going to cost you $17 million a season. Now, do you wait for Denver to cut him? Because he's bound to get cut. I mean, there's no way they're going to be able to keep him. That team is a dumpster fire. They signed
Frankenstein to like $30 million a year.
That team's a dumpster fire. So I can't imagine them keeping him.
Here's what I see.
Or you can just guarantee that you get him, make a trade, but it's going to cost $19 million for Denver to trade him. $19 million just to get him off your team. But does Von Miller replace Lorenzo Alexander next year?
Okay. Can I answer this question two separate ways?
Yeah.
On paper,
yeah,
no question.
Okay.
He's a monster. He can replace
He's an animal.
Alexander. He
Straight
can do
animal.
all this other stuff.
He's
you
5
need him
years
to do.
younger, 6 years younger.
He's an animal. There's no questioning He did have an injury earlier in his career though.
Yep.
ACL.
Yep.
So that may be concerning as he gets up in
The
those
Bills
30s.
are funky about players who missed extensive
True.
time. They
So,
are really funky about that.
Sometimes they take chances on him, sometimes they don't. I don't understand it. But on paper, Von Miller would turn this defense inside out on the league. It would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
However, the numbers that you just mentioned for a rotational player and Frazier and McDermott, they don't have defensive ends / linebackers that make a ton of money because they are rotational guys. They usually get 6-7 sacks a year. Not a lot. They don't get. Julius Peppers is the only guy I can remember in a McDermott tenure, even dating back to the Eagles. They didn't have guys that had huge numbers as far as defensive ends go. So I don't know if the finances will justify. If he was on, let's just say this: if Von Miller had AJ Green's contract where it was coming up, but Von Miller has 3 more years of his current deal at $17 million a year.
Yep.
That's going to bleed into
He's free to
Hyde,
cut.
Poyer, Dawkins.
Free to cut.
But
Free to cut.
But I understand he's free to cut, but you want to use him. You don't want to cut him. You want to use him as a valuable
Right.
piece.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to trade for him, then trade him in the NFC because you don't want him in the NFC? I don't understand.
Yeah, just trade him so you can trade him again so the Patriots don't get him. That's always the joke,
He'll still right?
end
up there.
That's always
they
the
got
joke.
They got Winovich and Van Noy.
Well, okay, so the injury to Von Miller was in 2013. So that was long. Football years, that was another life ago.
So you're telling me he has 6
But
years of wear and tear on that knee
had
as it was
14
reconstructed?
He had, in the last, since his ACL tear, 14 sacks, 11 sacks, 13 and a half sacks, 10 sacks, 14 and a half sacks, and this year he's got 2.5, not counting any games today. So, still gets there.
But look at the numbers that are there.
Look at the QB hit numbers, 27, 33,
look
24,
at the numbers
22,
that are
26.
He played 16 games every year since then.
Yep.
But now here's what the number you got to look at. 84%, 76, 81, 86, 78, and currently this year he's playing 92% of the snaps.
Coaching change. I mean, that's
coaching. But in that respect, no 2 players on the Bills line really equal that.
right. Well,
So
that's why I'm saying.
That's huge.
But does his age and injury history scare you if you're going at 50%?
Wait, no,
snap
here's my point, though. We talked about Lorenzo. We talked about Milano prior to today.
Yeah.
We talked about Trey White.
Yeah.
The whole defensive backfield. They play 100% of the snaps.
Yeah.
Is he going to play 100?
No, he's not going to play 100.
You telling me he wouldn't be the rotational guy that would come
he'd
out?
be-
You're telling me he'd play outside backer in a 4-3, and then he would go down and put his hand in the dirt? He'd be that 100% guy. I wouldn't go more than $13 million then.
You're not getting Von Miller for $13 million.
What are you
That's
going
a
to pay
fact.
Milano when he comes up? What are you going to pay Edmonds when he comes up?
Yeah.
Not to mention that other freak you got on the offense that you got to pay in 4 years.
Yep.
And
Von
Josh
Miller does cut into, and that's one thing that I think a lot of people start talking about, these players that you want to add, right? You want to add players. Well, these players with other deals, you're right, they start cutting into the money for the players that you want to extend. And that's sort of the battle that you have to walk into, is you have to say, okay, if I acquire this guy, at what cost tomorrow is this, right? There's a cost today to get Von Miller, right? It's going to cost me a second-round pick and a second-round pick next year. If you can go a second-round pick next year, a second-round pick the following year, do you make the deal for Von Miller right now?
Second-round pick?
Second-round pick in 2020, second-round pick in 2021.
For Von Miller.
For Von Miller, right now.
If part of the condition is he's willing to front-load his deal.
You're not restructuring his deal at all.
Why?
You don't have to. He's free to cut. Why would you give him money back?
To make the trade.
You're giving him leverage.
To make the trade for my cap number so I can sign these other guys that I need to sign. You telling me if I have a $17 million cap number and I'm not able to sign Jordan Poyer,
Right.
and I say I restructure it so that it's a prorated bonus, $10 million is his base, $7 is his bonus.
So what you're saying
So I
is
can
you're only trading Von Miller if you can restructure his contract.
I got to because I have other guys I got to sign.
Okay.
Because
All right.
Von Miller
okay,
himself is you're going to have the same scenario that Denver has right now. He's the only defensive player on that team. That's why you're paying him that much. The Bills have a bunch of other players that work well.
Yeah.
If you get Miller and lose Poyer, how good is your defensive backfield going to be?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You make a valid point.
I mean, that's
yeah, but I'm just saying
the
that's
Bills fan in me
right,
coming out. Though.
Right, but that's the battle when you make a trade. Is what cost is it tomorrow? Paul, trust Mario. He's a math teacher.
Said no one ever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
But yeah, like It's a discussion
ongoing
point.
battle.
It's a talking
ongoing
point. It's a
battle.
great talking point
Yeah.
because would Von Miller on paper improve this defense? Well, it's hard to think that this defense coming into today was like third in every top 5 in every category.
Mm-hmm.
But now you want to trade for Von Miller and make it's ridiculous. But the numbers, as much as the NFL is on the field, it's off the field. And the business part of it is going to be something that makes these deals happen or not.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Second this year, second next year, if the numbers work, I do it. But if the numbers don't work, I can't sacrifice Milano and Poyer for Von Miller.
Right.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I don't think he really fixes your hole with Matt Milano if a Milano injury happens.
No,
I don't think he
Plus,
fixes.
you're going to lose Zoe.
Right.
So you got him in there. Who's going to take Milano's spot?
Right.
And who would you're going to put Kurt Coleman?
That's what I mean.
You're
Yeah.
going to put Marlowe?
So
Moshawn
acquiring
Joseph?
Von Miller only fixes a pass rush problem that doesn't exist right now because it's not the scheme that everybody wants them to run, but it's what they're going to run. You know, they're going to run 4 cross, and they're just going to try and get you, and they're going to try and beat you into the ground with a constant rotation.
CM Banks brings up a great point. So
Yeah.
you want to beat the Patriots? I'm like, yeah, I'd rather beat them for the next 10 years rather than the next 2.
Well, yeah.
Like I said, this is coming from my perspective. I think you need to try to keep the core of the cornerstones of your defense that have done all this stuff for you. I know you're not going to pay a guy for what he's done for you, but you're going to pay him for what he can contribute. I still think Poyer and Hyde and all those guys have a lot to contribute.
Orion Organoner says then we should go after Luke Kuechly. Carolina's not selling Luke Kuechly right now.
No,
they're not. They're not. All right, we got to wrap this up because we got to go record in the car.
Couple things I wanted to tell everybody. Paul mailed out the wristband, so those of you that 2 weeks ago was it 2 weeks ago that participated in the 100 like contest, thank you so much. Paul is sending those out.
Yeah, the post office tried to charge us like $5 to send them each.
I was like, how much would it cost me can I just mail these in a letter? And I mailed out like 3 that got there, got to their destination, and he was like, yeah, you're gonna have whoever gets it is gonna have to pay when they get it. I'm like, no, it's free.
No.
So it delayed it like 3 or 4 days. Paul ended up getting them. He mailed them out. Everything's good with that. Sportscaster next week. We're thinking about we might be able to have the live
broadcast
of the game. So our picture that you see when we do the live feed will actually be up in the top corner, but you'll be able to watch the game itself with us calling it. We're looking into that. We're going to have this week, we're going to have 2 episodes for you. We're going to have the Friday Film Room, and we're going to have a very special guest episode this week coming to you guys. Some of our fans and some of Hashtag Nation and this individual's fans have been saying, you guys need to do a collab. So
we're very excited about that.
So we're excited to do that. It's not going to be a live feed, but we're going to give you a special little treat. I think it's going to be...
Ship is gold. I'm canceling my NFL Sunday ticket. If you're only getting it for the Bills game, Sportscaster's going to give it to you for free. So, that's... Now, mind you, it's not going to be HD quality because obviously you're streaming it through Sportscaster, but we will do the best that we can. Absolutely. It's a brand new feature, so there might be a little give and take with it as we learn the technology ourselves, but that's the way it is. We're excited.
We're forgetting something. Are we forgetting something? I got to go get him a donut.
That's right. I need that fuel for the Brian Dable conversation
So we can tell you right now, for certainty, 100%, there's going to be a Brian Dable episode.
Oh God, yeah.
This week.
Oh yeah, that's.
I cannot wait. I might not even talk, which is probably a bonus for you guys. So
yeah, that's
Hashtag Nation. Thank you for joining us this week on the post game. So we will definitely catch you guys this week. Thank you for joining us and thank you for the support.
Yep. All right. Thanks everybody. Talk to you soon.